In the year 1861 came an event that would change the history of America forever. The American Civil War. The war would last for 4 years and eventually end in 1865. 620,000 lives were lost in the battle between the North and the South. However, there was one particular man, hailing from faraway land, that took part in this bloody war. His name is Yod. It was unclear how he ended up in the United States. There were no records of how he got there. But in 1959, Yod resided at the 222nd York Street in Jersey City, New Jersey. He worked as a type founder. And a year later, after the war broke out, Mr. Yod decided to join the fight. On the 12th of August 1862, Mr. Yod volunteered for the 13th New Jersey Volunteer Regiment for B Company. Perhaps Mr. Yod looked young, or he was young enough that a man named William Hagen had to sign his consent form for joining the army. Do you know that Mr. Yod also have an English name? Can you guess? That's right. He listed his name as George DuPont from Siam to Lieutenant John Grimes, the recruiter. Grimes had never heard the name of Siam before, but it was not unusual for foreign fighters to fight for the 13th Regiment, as most of the unit was made of immigrants from Europe. However, George DuPont surely is a unique one. He stood for 5 feet and he was fluent in English. He was probably taught by American missionaries before coming to America. He may be weak or less strong than the other foreign fighters, but he surely has a heart of iron to fight in this war. George DuPont served for the Northern Union and fought along with the New Jersey Volunteers in 3 different major battles of the Civil War. The first battle was the Battle of Antietam on September 17, 1862. It was a confrontation between the Union Army led by General George B. McClellan against General Robert E. Lee, Confederate Army. At the dawn of 17 September 1862, General McClellan's force attacked General Lee's army for the control of Antietam Creek. Lee's army of 40,000 soldiers was outnumbered by McClellan's army of 80,000. At the end of the day, the Union Army claimed victory and pushed Lee's army back. The Battle of Antietam remained the most bloody battle of American military history up until today.
The second battle, Mr. DuPont took part in the Battle of Chancellorsville. The battle occurred between April 30 to May 6 in 1863. It was one of the major battles in American Civil War, also known as Lee's Perfect Battle. The North Army was led by General Joseph Hooker, who led an army of 130,000 soldiers against the same old General Lee's army of 70,000 soldiers. The battle was popular because of General Lee's boldness by attacking with much less force which led to his decisive victory against the North. The casualty was up to 70,000 for the North and 12,000 for the South. The last battle Mr. Dupont joined was Battle of Gettysburg. The battle occurred between July 1st to July 3rd, 1863. It was the battle that had the largest number of casualties of the entire war, and it was also described as the war's turning point due to the decisive victory of the Union. Approximately 100,000 of the Union soldiers were led by General George Meade against 71,000 soldiers of the Confederacy led by General Robert E. Lee. The casualties of this war were 23,000 for the North and 23,000 to 28,000 for the South. After miraculously surviving 3 of the harshest battles of the American Civil War, he unfortunately fell sick in the early fall of 1863 and had to stay in a hospital in Alexandria, Virginia. Then he returned to serve it in the Georgia campaign. Dupont was present when General Sherman marched to the sea. It happened between November 15 to December 21, 1864. General Sherman led 60,000 troops from Atlanta to Savannah as a means to demoralize the Confederacy. After the Georgia campaign, he fought in the Battle of Resaca and was wounded. Luckily, it was nothing major, so he could continue fighting. He continued to fight for 13th Regiment, which led to his serve injury in combat at the Battle of Cope Farm on 22, 1864. Later, on June 26, 1865, he was discharged at Louisville, Kentucky. He received $25 for finishing his duties in the military and back pay, also traveling expense to New Jersey.
After Mr. Yod went back to Jersey, he went to Philadelphia and worked as a clerk in a type foundry in Sansome Street. Moreover, Mr. Dupont and his friend Amos Toy were arrested in the spring of 1866 for being rude and don't behave well in eating at a restaurant house at the corner of 6th and Cherry Streets. He became a legally American citizen on 2nd of August on 1869 in Philadelphia. Surprisingly, he left the United States and arrived in Bangkok around 1870. In Siam, he worked for Siam Weekly Advertisers as an English language newspaper in Bangkok. However, he wasn't work there for long because Siamese government recognized him as a young man well up in the military affairs and employed him as a drill master for the Siamese army. He became a timber dealer after finishing his work as a drill master in the military and traveled around Siam for business. While he was on the Yom River at the town of Mueang Swankalok in November 1889, and he was attacked by many thieves and somehow accidentally got shot through both of his feet, which is really sad for him. And in 1891 he was unable to work due to his injuries. Mr. Yod Dupont applied for an American pension in Bangkok in order to get $12 per month. Mr. Yod Dupont was married in 1900. Unfortunately, he died from a heart disease in the same year in July 18. He was buried in the Bangkok Protestant Cemetery.
To summarize, Mr. Yod was the only Siamese soldier to fight in the American Civil War. He fought bravely alongside the New Jersey Volunteer and surviving 3 of the deadliest battles of the Civil War. After returning to Siam, he continued to serve the Siamese army and eventually passed away in 1900. He will remain the greatest Siamese to take part in the American Civil War, mainly because he was the only one.
Yo, it's quiz time. I've got 3 questions for you. And if you can beat Ajahn Matt in this quiz, you will receive 10 baht from me and my respects. First question. What was the battle that George Dupont not a part of? Second question. Who was the recruiter of the New Jersey Volunteer? Last question. What happened to George Dupont after he returned to Siam?